are my co-host, the Mistress Darkness, the Queen of Fright, the Lady of the Night, Muse. How you doing tonight, lady?
Good. It's just, it seems like it's been longer than a week since I last saw you guys. So I don't know. I
I
don't know what it
I
is.
know.
I don't
I
know.
was
I know
gonna
it's just
text
me.
you guys. I can't wait to talk to you guys,
No, it feels like
man.
it's been long, like 2 weeks or something. So I'm glad to see you guys tonight.
Yeah, me too. I'm so happy to see Chris's smiling face. How are you doing, Chris?
Wonderful. I am in Atchison, Kansas. I'm told it's the most haunted city in America. Goes all over the place. Well, there's one. Yeah.
There is something glowing behind you. It's kind of freaking me out a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. That's Mr. Atchison, who founded the town 140 years ago. He still lingers and lurks. But it's a beautiful place. And it's about, I don't know, an hour from Topeka. You guys should come out here and join us. Next week, I'll be doing a show from Huntington, West Virginia.
You're just a traveling man. I can't believe you. Nothing stops you. HorrO and Dexter, the wannabe intern. But I can't knock Dexter this week because I've noticed that he's been really active on social media, and he's making me a little jealous. How's it going?
Oh, he's tearing it up. I had him working on that internship as we live the Florida curse here, where rich people get vaccinated in front of everybody else. Spring breakers tear up the beach, and our sports teams have no clue what they're doing. So yeah, so that's why me and Dexter just sit here and try to promote horror and stay out of all this craziness that's happening in this crazy state.
Yeah, I noticed. I saw the news there in Florida. What's going on with all the people out there? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy,
they're
man. You guys are
they're
crazy. You guys are
insane.
party animals. Party, but you know what? You only live once, man. And you got to thing, and hopefully some of those people live shorter than others. I'm just kidding. Anyway, let's jump right into the show. We have a really cool show planned for everybody tonight. This is called Curse of Awora. Awore, right? That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. It's a really cool movie that we got to watch. It's a found footage film. We're going to have the director, Mirhan Tarogale, and we're going to have some of the cast members on as well. But we really enjoyed this film. So with that said, we're going to kick it off with the beer of the week. I got this really nice beer here. This is called Another Steer Bigger, and it's triple IPA with milk, sugar, and vanilla. So I'm really excited to have this beer. Cheers to you guys. Let's have a great show. I'm not going to be able to finish this one. It's really heavy, but it's good. It's got a good taste. It's got a nice, smooth, sweet taste, almost like a stout. But I'll sip on that tonight. So this film was based in Canada, and we have some stories to talk about. I went down the black hole of the internet, and I thought I found some interesting stories about Canada. I'm just going to kind of read through a couple of them if you're interested. 8 true Canadian ghost stories that you should know about. So there's one called the Mackenzie River Ghost. Augustus Richard Pierce died in 1853, and as part of his final wishes, his body was to be transported from the Northwest Territories on dog sled, a task that Roderick McFarland volunteered to take. During the trip, McFarland wrote in his journal that in the night he would hear a ghostly voice compelling the dogs to keep running, even though no one else was around. Very spooky. Though the story involves Mistress of Christie Mansion. Though the story involves a cookie dynasty, it is anything but sweet. After the death of William Mellis Christie, the original Mr. Christie, in 1900, his son Robert inherited the company as well as the family mansion in Toronto. Robert had a family, but also a mistress who lived in a secret room of the house. Once he stopped visiting her, the mistress took her own life in that very room. Legend has it that if you enter the mistress's chamber at night, the door will swing shut behind you. You will be trapped inside. Chris would have no problems getting trapped inside a mysterious chamber with the mistress. It'd be her lucky night. The Amherst Haunting. Just as a house can appear to be haunted, so too can a person. Esther Cox moved to Amherst, Nova Scotia in 1878 at the age of 18 to live with her sister. That was when the trouble began. There were reports of banging on the walls, furniture moving around, and even fires being started. Esther herself was subjected to all matter of unexplainable physical ailments. Even when she went to stay elsewhere, the unexplainable events followed her. She eventually wound up in jail for robbery, after which the paranormal phenomena seemed to stop. Probably not. Maybe she was just crazy. Who knows? Anyway, there's a lot of cool ghost stories. Canada's an old town, very. I didn't find anything too crazy, and I was really trying. I was really trying to get lost in the internet this one. But the movie kind of has something to do with the old. I guess an old ghost story, and we'll get into that in a bit. But it's a found footage film, like I said. I watched it, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of it's a little slow burn, but it does come together, and a lot of the acting was great. I thought the camaraderie in the film was good. That being said, I think that's all I have for tonight. Yeah, Muse, what's up with you?
Well, yeah, I think that this movie kind of hit differently a little bit with me, because I had heard a story, and actually it's not a story. It's actually really happened, really sad, tragic story that reminded me of this movie. The movie takes place, the history in this movie takes place like 100 years ago. But when I came across this story that was very similar, it was about a child that had been severely abused and starved by his parents, and all this horrible stuff had happened. I think it was only about maybe like 10 or 15 years ago, or maybe even a little bit less. And it's just a really sad story. And it reminded me a lot of Curse of Aurora, or Aurora. I hope I'm saying that right. But
Aurora, yeah.
Aurora. And so yeah, it really made me think of that story. And I remember I saw like a video about it on YouTube, and I'm telling you, man, YouTube can be a very creepy place. I mean, you don't have to dig very deep to find some really disturbing stuff on YouTube. And from stories to real life stuff to just crazy videos and stuff like that. I mean, I've come across everything from how to cremate a body to all this kind of stuff, like some of the most disturbing videos on the internet, and it's just really crazy. So yeah, there's quite a black hole on YouTube as well.
I'm gonna have to use it next time, man. I'm gonna have to
YouTube
just
can
dig
get
into that.
really dark and creepy. Yeah, really disturbing stuff. And that was one of the stories I came across that reminded me of this movie. And
Well, let's see what you got for Sinister Six. We can get into that.
all right. So speaking of disturbing, and I kind of touched on this on Twitter and with you guys last week, for this Sinister Six, I wanted to kind of dig a little bit deeper on horror movie characters that still give me the creeps. Characters that creep me out as a kid, but still give me the creeps. And I touched on this on Twitter probably about a week or two ago now. So obviously one of my main characters was Malachi for the first movie, for the first character in first movie. Malachi, just, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's the red hair or the crazy crazy things he says, like Outlander. And like I said, I still say this in random crowds of people I don't know from time to time just to freak everybody out. But Children of the Corn was just a really crazy movie anyways. And I don't know, I had this weird phobia when I was a kid. I know this is going to sound strange. I was deathly afraid of teenagers when I was a kid. I was scared to death. Teenagers scared the crap out of me because they were always running around acting crazy, and there just always seemed to be some kind of trouble. And I don't know, I was like a little adult in a kid's body or something, like these crazy kids. I don't know. But Children of the Corn really exacerbated that for me. Because, basically you have kids run amok, in this movie, taking over everything, killing off all the adults and stuff. And Malachi's character was chief among them. Courtney Gaines was perfection here, and I loved his role here. But yeah, he still freaks me out all these years later. He did such a great job in this role. So
he has great hair, though. I mean,
great hair, yeah, fantastic hair. I love the red hair. It just made his character even better. So the second character is obviously Zelda. We know right away from the picture here. I know Ken is over here ready to
I hate it. I hate it.
So yeah, Zelda from Pet Sematary. How many people had this in their nightmares or had this image in their nightmares when they were kids or growing up, and still probably do? We remember the story. This is Louis Creed's wife is retelling piece of her traumatic childhood of having to take care of her sister with a terrible disease that had basically made her go crazy. And of course, we have this really just distinct image of Zelda just freaking out on this poor little girl, and she's kind of left alone to care for her, and it's a bad situation. And Zelda, yeah, she's nightmare fuel for sure. She's just, I don't. Ken wants to say something.
No, I thought it was terrifying. I remember watching it. It's unexpected.
Yes.
Her character, right? You know, and it's like, what the fuck?
Right. And she's just so batshit crazy in this movie, and she's screaming this little girl's name, and oh gosh, it's just terrifying. So definitely, she still gets to me years later. The third character is another character that may or may not have creeped out a lot of people. Nubbin Sawyer. I did not know his name until like I think about a year or so ago. Nubbin Sawyer. I used to always refer to him as the crazy hitchhiker in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They pick him up, and I mean, right from the word go, he's acting strange in the van. You know, this is kind of what happens. This is like why you don't pick up hitchhikers. This in the Hitcher really scarred me for life with hitchhikers, and obviously for good reason. He just starts acting crazy. He's taking pictures of everybody. He pulls out this razor blade, as you can see in this picture, cuts one of I think it's Franklin's character in the wheelchair that he cuts.
Yeah.
And he's taking pictures of him. He actually starts a fire at one point in the van. I guess he's aggravated with them because they won't, he wants them to pay him for the pictures he takes of them. He starts taking all these pictures, and he's just acting strange the whole time, but it just escalates to where they kick him out of the van. And I just remember just being so freaked out by his character. But yeah, really great, memorable character, Nubbin Sawyer there from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The fourth character is Haggis. And if you remember Haggis from, there she is. Oh my God. I don't remember.
There's a theme going on here, Muse.
God.
There's a theme going on.
She is just, oh my goodness. I don't know, Zelda or Haggis. Like I want to poll on Twitter. Who's scarier? I don't know. Haggis. This is my husband's, one of my husband's nightmares here is Haggis. And she's the witch from Pumpkinhead. Lance Henriksen's character goes to her to find out how to conjure up Pumpkinhead to get revenge on the young people that are responsible for his son's death. And of course she, performs the spells and everything like that to conjure up Pumpkinhead. But yeah, I don't remember ever getting this good of a look at her though. So I mean, she just looks like undead already. So yeah, definitely Haggis still freaks me out. Just looking at it, I'm going to see this face later on tonight. I know.
I went through a couple of them, man, and I was like, which one do I pick? And this was like the clearest one. Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. Great picture. Okay. Character 5 is Ralphie Glick from Salem's Lot. And I know I've talked about this on Twitter with people in the past. And this, I don't know, man. To this day, if somebody comes knocking on, I'm so glad we live on the second floor because I used to have, like I said, my brother used to come knocking on my window and, I don't know. It's a long story, but he used to come knocking on my window and scare the crap out of me. He thought it was funny. And I used to just want to strangle him every time. But this movie is what really got me scared of that sort of thing. So whenever I would hear something scratching at my window or tapping at my window, I'd be like, God, this movie, I just get this image. And this is an image that a lot of people were afraid of as kids. And like I said, to this day, tapping, scratching at the window, no, I can't. This movie ruined me for that. So it might just be a branch, but I'm thinking it's Ralphie Glick the whole time. It's just, he's terrifying. I mean, I was freaked out. I'm like, this creepy ass kid. God, what is going on? But a great movie too. Salem's Lot, a classic for sure. And last but certainly not least is Reverend Kane. Yes. From Poltergeist 2, the Beast, I guess you could say, played brilliantly by Julian Beck. He was so fantastic here. And I think we all remember the infamous scene where he's on the porch banging on the door, demanding that Craig T. Nelson's character let him in. And he's, saying they're going to die in there. And just this horrifying, this whole thing. And he comes across really nice at first, but of course he loses his cool at the end there because he realizes he's not getting anywhere. But just the whole movie, I mean, just terrifying characters. So those are my top 6 horror movie characters that still give me the creeps. So I'm going to swing around to Chris first and ask him, who still freaks you out, Chris? Maybe when you were a kid, or maybe it's more recent.
You took my first 2.
Uh-oh.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy, and then the Ralphie Glick, whatever his name was, from Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I jotted down a couple of names. One's a horror movie and one isn't, for Dennis Hopper. Remember him in Blue Velvet?
Yes,
Oh
yes,
yeah, he had
yes.
the gas thing going, the
Yeah, the
oxygen.
mask,
Oh
the
yeah,
oxygen
yeah.
mask. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember one scene. They're going out to get a beer, and Tom McLachlan said, "Yes, what kind of beer do you want?" And he says, "Heineken." And the line I remember is, "Heineken, fuck that shit, Pabst Blue Ribbon." And, I always remember. And he was also really creepy in Apocalypse Now. That goes back to, I think, the late 70s. I don't know if you guys remember that. He played that fawning photographer that worshipped Colonel Kurtz. He was just out there. But the other name, and now we're going to go to an old movie from the 1960s, and you might have a homework assignment. Have you seen Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte?
Not in
Oh,
its entirety.
yeah, I remember the
I've only seen
cover.
pieces of it.
Oh no, no. Okay, the homework assignment now is
It's a
this.
classic.
Oh yeah, Betty Davis.
Yes.
It gives 2 straight hours of this intense performance, leading up to a twist at the end. It's a beautiful twist in that you knew exactly what was going on until the end of the movie, and then you find out what really was going on. But her performance was intense the whole time. She plays the crazy old murdering lady the kids are afraid of. They they dare each other to go up to the doorbell and touch the door and run away, and nobody in the right mind would do it because she's a homicidal fiend living in the house. Uh, there's beheadings, there's limbs cut off. Very, very interesting movie for its time. But Betty Davis's portrayal of that's right up there. And so you guys now have a homework assignment. See the entirety of Hush Hush, Sweet Charlotte. And those two names and adds to your list, Muse.
Absolutely. I definitely am going to be honoring that homework assignment because I've been meaning to see that whole movie
Oh.
for sure. All right, I'm gonna save Monster Mash Ken for last and go on to HorrO and Dexter and find out who creeps them out still.
Well, this guy right here,
I was gonna
a
say, I
couple.
bet you Dexter creeps him out. He's like staring at him the whole time when he's sleeping.
I don't know. Sometimes his mouth's open, sometimes his mouth's closed. I don't know if he's hungry. He can't really eat anything. I don't know what he's doing. I leave him in this room at night, and I hope I don't hear any noises. So yeah, he's definitely a star creeper here. Um, I was trying to look for some newer movies. I just couldn't think of any off the head besides a movie that I just saw, which I'm going to recommend in a little bit. And I'll touch on that in a little bit then. Um, I was kind of thinking of some of the names you mentioned, and then I was also thinking of Samara from The Ring when she comes through the TV.
Ooh, nice.
I know
Yeah.
that there's not a lot to her besides her darkness and then her long ass hair, but I watch a lot of TV, and I remember when that came out, I was like, damn, some shit like that happened, that would be wild. Um, and then I guess the other night, my wife hadn't seen Sinister Part Two, so we watched that, and I was just, I remember the first time I watched the sequel, I was like, yeah, it was okay, but I had more appreciation for it this time, and I just realized, what a creepy dude that guy is. Especially, I love the first one, but just watching him again in action, and his face, and he doesn't do a whole lot in the movie, but just when he appears, you're like, yeah, that dude is something's wrong there. So I'll go with those two for now.
Those are great picks, great movies. You guys have great choices. So I definitely, I was hoping I didn't steal too many answers from everybody. So here we go. Monster Mash Ken. I can't wait to hear his choices. He's got some good ones too. I know.
But before I go, I just gotta shout out the chat room here. Mike, Luna, the Mikey X, Chris, you're in there. John, of course, John, Jamie. Who else is in there? All right, so I got a couple of shout outs from the chat room. Let's see. Mikey X says the actor Anthony James had a rather frightening aura to him and his few scenes throughout the film. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed. He's saying The chauffeur from Burnt Offerings creeped me out. Okay, I
Oh,
skipped
that's a
that.
good
Sorry.
one. Yes. Super,
Yeah,
super good one. Yes. He was so
and
creepy.
Luna gets a good one here too. The woman from Mommy Dearest, of course. Oh God, the wire
Oh,
hangers. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, my God.
she
Nightmare.
just she says to this day I use plastic, right?
Right. God.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
My dad used to spank me with those plastic hangers, man.
Oh,
Asshole.
gosh.
I know, right? Anyway, for mine, I got a couple good ones here. Uh, Same movie, two characters, right? Really brief in the movie, but it freaked me out. I don't know why. Obviously, Pazuzu's face when in The Exorcist, where it just shows a clip of the demon, horrifying, because you don't know what's going to happen. And also, Damie's mom, the old woman. I don't know why it creeps me out, but old people just creep me out. No offense, Chris, but old people really creep me out. And that scared me. And then just kind of like, I guess, a semi newer movie. A character that and the music kind of played into it was two from this movie as well. Insidious, the old woman, that old
Yes.
when she's like, oh God, in the beginning of the movie, you're watching, like, ooh, this movie's gonna be the jam, and it didn't disappoint. And then the demon, when Barbara Hershey is talking about at the dinner table, like where the demon's standing over the kid and it points at the kid, that just gave me the heebie-jeebies. But I dig it and I'm here for it. I love the Insidious movies, man. I think it's great. But yeah, those are mine. Really fun list, Muse, because it's what horror is all about, you know?
Yes. Getting creeped out. I love it. I love the fact that some of this stuff still scares me years later. So yeah, I loved everybody's choices. I haven't been able to weigh in on the chat yet, but I'm going to be checking here in a second. I know there's some
They're making fun of you in there, by the way. They're making fun of you.
probably like I'm scared. Muse is scared of teenagers. All right. Well, I will pass it back on to Monster Mash Ken, and that is the Sinister Six for the week.
Good stuff as always. All right, let's get into the Promote Horror 666 rundown with HorrO and Dexter, the intern.
All right. Just a quick note on what you were just talking about, because there is I have to look it up, and I had it written down the other day. I just reviewed a movie called Phobias, which just came out, and one of them is the fear of youth or teenage and so forth. So there's an actual fear for that. So they managed to squeeze that into the movie, which was interesting. Anyway, I'm not going to do a remake this week. Instead, this is something I was thinking about. And, sometimes when I wonder, you guys are like, wow, where the hell does he come up with this shit? But anyway, I was thinking about something, and I kind of want to present it to you guys and get your opinion on it anyway. So give me a couple of minutes here to set it up, and then I'll throw it to you guys, and then you guys can share your thoughts. So we're in kind of changing times here, and we see a lot of people getting in trouble for sexual harassment. We see politicians and sports people, and it obviously happens in movies in Hollywood as well. So I was kind of looking at it, and I was thinking about how this would affect horror and a way. And I know that there's a couple examples out there of things that have happened. And there's one movie in particular that something happened, which may even be a little bit more than some of the sexual harassment stuff here. But I don't want to name that movie because I don't want to get hate mail. There's also another, I guess I should say, magazine that also dealt with some movies and got in some trouble because of somebody there who also got sexual harassed. But again, I don't want hate mail, so I don't want to go through those things. Instead, I'm going to give you an example that's non-horror, and then I'm going to give you a horror example, and kind of you'll see where I'm going with this. Because I think those other examples are easy to say, okay, well, I just don't like those movies because, or whatever, blah, blah, because they're newer. So the example is Bill Cosby. Most of us know who he is. And we know he's known for, obviously, The Cosby Show, besides being known for Jell-O and so forth, ruining Jell-O. But Bill Cosby, obviously, we watched The Cosby Show when we were growing up. Maybe Chris was a lot older. And maybe could have related more to him as a father figure and so forth. I don't know. But he definitely set, kind of the bar as one of the fathers of the generation, and playing his part in his role in sitcoms. And plenty of sitcoms came and followed after that. And then, years and years have gone by, and now we see what happened to him. It came out that he did this and that, and now he's in jail and so forth. We don't, the details there aren't the important part, but he's in jail. So kind of thinking about that is when you go and you ask somebody now, oh, are you a fan of the Cosby Show? Did you ever watch the Cosby Show? Blah, blah. Of course, some people are immediately now oh, I hate that. I hate Bill Cosby. I hate that. But let's slow down now, because how much do you separate this? I watched the Cosby Show. I'm not going to say I was a huge fan of it. I watched seasons of it and blah blah. I'm well familiar with it, but I'm not going to sit here and say I hate the show. I mean, the show was the show. I mean, at the time we didn't know he was a bad guy, blah blah, and was doing all this. No one knew. Well, maybe some people obviously knew, but the entire audience that watched this did not know. So, to me, the show's okay. Obviously, they're not showing it. They have no interest in showing it. Nobody's going to watch it now, which is sad for, the rest of the cast. There was the rest of the cast there. Do we just ignore their credits and ignore their work on the show and so forth? Some of them are still acting to this day. So it's sad for them. But, obviously the show is not on anymore and so forth. So that's kind of a non-horror example of it. But to lead where I'm going is let's make this a tougher question. Let's bring this into the horror world. And I'm going to throw one out here. And this is completely fake, so I don't need any more hate mail here either. This is completely made up situation. No hate mail, no nothing. Don't go tweeting at him and saying that we're saying this about him. This is completely fake. It's just an example. We all love Nightmare on Elm Street. It's all in our hearts and souls. And it's the reason I'm here, certainly to this day. Freddy Krueger, obviously a horror icon, and Robert Englund, a horror icon because of playing that part. Let's say it comes out tomorrow that he sexually harassed some women on the set of Nightmare on Elm Street. Maybe the first one, maybe some of the sequels, maybe in some, he's done tons of movies, maybe somewhere else along the line. You can push as far as you want as the example you want to use and how far you want him to go or whatever. But let's say it comes out that he did some stuff that maybe some other people have done, has been in the news lately or been caught or so forth. So how does that affect your opinion of A Nightmare on Elm Street and where it stands for the horror community and horror fans and so forth? Are we going to not watch it anymore? Are you going to turn it off? Are Halloween going to come around and just pretend that Freddy Krueger doesn't exist? Pretend that A Nightmare on Elm Street doesn't exist? Pretend all of those movies that he starred in don't exist, including much more than A Nightmare on Elm Street. He's done tons of stuff. So how does that kind of work? Where do you draw the line? Do we ignore, like I said, for the cast of the Cosby Show, there's tons of people who have acted and done all kinds of parts in all these Freddy movies and so forth. Do you just not show any of these movies and ignore all of the work that all those people do? A lot of those people still go to horror conventions. Do you not invite them anymore and pretend they don't exist, pretend those movies don't exist anymore? And if you do you ever bring it back? What happens then? I mean, where do we go with this? So, while it's easy to erase Bill Cosby from our minds, and we're not, we're horror fans here, and Bill Cosby's whatever, but, you still have to have some respect for the show, and it is a part of history, and it's out there, and you just can't do away with it. Just like an athlete who plays for many years and whatever, and breaks records and so forth, you just can't erase that. I mean, yeah, you can hate on him once you find out he does something. You can't erase what he did. I mean, he's there, he's done it, and so forth. So, kind of taking this example, so if this were to really happen, like what do you think, what are your thoughts on where you're going to go with this? Maybe another horror fan comes up to you and says, what are your thoughts on Nightmare on Elm Street? And maybe you'll still say, well, it's still my favorite. Yeah, I agree, he's a scumbag for what he did, but I still love A Nightmare on Elm Street. But maybe a non-horror fan who may ask you, and hey, what's your favorite movie? And you say A Nightmare on Elm Street, they're going to be like, well, what the hell? This guy did that. How can you still like that? And then you have to go into this whole thing about Freddy Krueger and how much he means to you and blah, blah, blah. So it's just kind of a thought out there. And I kind of was thinking about that and how much harder of an answer that is with that. Because I know of just certain other examples that are more recent, and these are movies that might not be near and dear to our heart, so it's easy to throw them under the bus and say, oh, well, I didn't like that movie anyway, or I didn't like that director, I didn't like that writer, whatever, because they don't have that history with you. But what if it was somebody who really, really, really you loved and whatever and blah, blah. And I know, like Ken loves the Raiders. I'm sure there's been Raiders over the course of history that maybe let him down. I know that's happened to the Dolphins. There's been as sports fans, there's guys that let you down all the time because they decide to do this, and blah blah blah. So there's other examples and other movies. It doesn't just have to be horror, but I just try to bring it to the horror. And I just thought, for myself, I guess the answer is, I wouldn't be able to get rid of it. Yeah, I would say he's a scumbag, but I'm not gonna hide from it. I love A Nightmare on Elm Street. I can't just turn on a dime and pretend like that doesn't play a role in my life, never did, and so forth. So just kind of a thought out there. So I'm going to throw it to you guys, and I'm going to throw it to Muse first, since she's the lady here, and kind of I'm interested to see her opinion, since much of this is coming from sexual harassment and sexual harassment of women, even though it can happen the other way around. It does seem to happen more in that direction, whether it happens now or it's happened many years ago and just appears now. So from a lady's perspective, I'd be interested in your thoughts, and your thoughts not only in that, but on someone still maybe liking the franchise after knowing what this guy did.
Well, I mean, I try to separate things that happen from things that I do like, but it just really, it really, I don't know. I think that it's difficult because everybody's different and views things differently. But I mean, you start talking about abuse or sexual harassment and things like that, and it's kind of a trigger for me. So it's harder for me to kind of like it just really all depends on what's happened and how it directly relates, and how it makes me feel. And honestly, it's just something that I may steer clear of the movie after that and may look at it differently than I may not. It just all depends. The sexual harassment stuff really gets to me because I know a lot of people that have been through that sort of thing. And I know, whether maybe there's some kind of abuse that's went on or whatever. I mean, like I said, I know people that have went through that, and it's harder for me to like look past that. It does taint the way that I do see the movie or the TV show or whatever it may be. And not say that I'm going to be like, okay, I'm just going to pretend that I never liked it or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, I'm always going to like Nightmare on Elm Street. It's a classic and things like that. But, it does change the way you do look at things at points because, you just don't, it's unfortunate, but I mean, I think that I try my best to separate it. But it doesn't always work out so well. It just really all depends on, what's going on and what's happened and stuff. And it's just not so easy. It's just I guess it's just such an individual thing. But as a woman, yeah, when you start talking about any type of sexual harassment or abuse or anything like that, it's going to hit me the wrong way. And that's not to knock anybody that does still like I'm not going to go after somebody for still liking it. I'm not that kind of person. We all like what we like. And, some people are going to have different opinions about it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that we're all going to have different opinions about it, but I mean, it's going to change the way I see it. I know that may not be what everybody was going to expect me to say, but it does kind of make me kind of view it differently. I'm not going to write it off like I've never liked it. And I'm going to, pretend that I never loved whatever it is, but it's going to make me view it in a different light. And it's disappointing. People do things that that are beyond our control. And I hear things all the time with different celebrities that, we hear about, doing this or doing that. And it's just like, oh man, come on, look what is going on. And it ruins things. But that's just my 2 cents on it. And I know that might be kind of a controversial take, or maybe not. But I mean, I would never shame somebody for still liking something. I totally understand. It's a hard thing to deal with for sure. But I kind of look at it like it's hard for the person that's went through any type of issue, that's worked on the film or whatever too. So I try to put it in that perspective, but I'm not one of those people that's going to go and shame somebody for still liking something because something happened with somebody that worked on the movie or maybe was a cast member or anything like that. I mean, that's just my take on it.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
Well, one of the reasons why I bring it up is because, I continue to do this, horror community thing, love horror, whatever. And I've seen when these discussions happen and it can get pretty bad. And I've seen it, kind of go crazy. And that's one of the thoughts of why I brought this up. Because like I said, it's easier when you're fighting over a more recent movie that's been made in the last 10, 20 years. But if it were to happen in something like this, I think, it would become a much larger debate. But I think Ken is dying to say something down there. So go
Oh
for it.
yeah, I got a lot to say about it. Real quick though, because I know we don't have a lot of time, and I want to give Chris a good fair amount for his segment. I will never know what it's like to walk in somebody's shoes that was put in a situation where they felt they couldn't speak up because they didn't want to ruin somebody and a legacy that somebody has created. That being said, I look at people like Michael Jackson, who I grew up on, and I don't think, other than Kobe Bryant and Michael Jackson, I don't think I was ever really affected by a celebrity dying where I was sad. You know, those two I did. And then you hear all these allegations and whatnot. Even Kobe Bryant had his situations too. I remember that, but the thing about it is when us as fans and whatnot, and we put our money into these movies and we make these people rich, and then they get this sense of entitlement that they can do whatever they want to anybody and treat anybody how they want, whether that's degrading them or disrespectful to them. Humans are humans, and just because you have more zeros in your bank account than I do. I don't have like a zero in my bank account. They have like ones and then a bunch of zeros after that one. So it gives them a false sense of entitlement. And in the end, we're all humans. Now, going back to your original question, just taking Freddy for an example, like that is like one of the, if not the horror icon of all horror movies, I would think, if not one of the top three. And if it came out later that, there was something going on behind the scenes, I'd really be curious if he wore the glove when he harassed a woman. That'd be make it a little interesting, like if he was like touching her with the claws. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I don't think I would stop watching because I'm watching a film that's fiction, and I don't think I'm not watching Robert Englund. I'm watching Freddy Krueger, and I hate saying that. God, we're gonna get in trouble. Dude, we're gonna get in trouble. But I'm just saying, like, if it were to happen, any horror icon, and that happened, I'm watching the film, and I guess there could be a debate: do we stop promoting their films and making them richer because they're not good people? But I don't know. Everybody has deep, dark secrets. Everybody has behind the scenes. Everybody has dirt. Everybody has something they're not proud of. Some people just get caught, and some people are more in the spotlight. And I do believe there are really good people in the world too, but unfortunately, yeah, it's a really weird situation. But I do feel for those people that have to keep it a secret or are paid off or whatever the stories are because this person is a celebrity and they have the means to quiet the truth, and it sucks. I just wish people could be more respectful to each other, and it's just it's just human nature. We watch horror movies. We like watching people get killed and murdered and whatnot. Doesn't mean any of us are going to go do that, but there are people that take it to that extreme, or maybe they watch porn and they feel like I can treat women how I want because I watch porn, and that's what women want, and they're not educated enough. Not just women, but men too. It goes both ways. More, it just happens to happen more to women. Anyway, that's my piece. Chris, I'm going to throw it to you.
So Deshaun Jackson, the number's up to 14 women he has supposedly sexually assaulted. None of those 14 the police have deemed worthy enough to bring a criminal case against. And Watson, Deshaun Watson. As far as I know, Deshaun Jackson has never mistreated anybody.
Deshaun Watson, yeah. Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. As far as I know, either has Deshaun Watson. The police don't think so. What happens when you're wrong? A lot of these things come up without any kind of corroboration, and they're designed for either a team or a studio or an agent writing a check. Charisma Carpenter just came out and made all sorts of charges against Joss Whedon. Shut up. 30 years ago, something, Charisma? Your memory is not that good. You'd be shocked how different your memory is of that event than what really happened. And it's 30 years later, maybe 3 days later, fine. 30 years, baloney. If somebody from a movie 40 years ago wants to make charges of sexual harassment, baloney. Don't even bother me with that. 40 years ago, all those stories your grandparents told you? None of them are true. They've all been embellished over time. My grandmother said that when they were from the old country, they did this. No, they didn't. I don't want to hear 30-year-old allegations 40-year-old allegations. I don't want to hear 14 allegations where the police have always said nothing here. And you know something? What if you're wrong? And without a court of law, people have been ruined. I just reviewed a movie called Guilt. Read the review. It's on my blog. What if you're wrong? What? Everybody knows he did it. Everybody knows Cosby did it. Do we really know that Cosby did anything? Well, he was found guilty in court. Well, O.J. Simpson was found innocent. But we all know he killed his wife. How do we know? And other thing, if you're going up to somebody's hotel room when you could meet in the lobby, meet in the restaurant, meet at the office, meet at the studio across the street, don't even get me going on that one. And I just want to say, feel free to sexually harass me. I'm here for you. Treat me like a piece of meat. And so all your letters.
Old baloney.
Way to wrap it. I really can't say much more after that. That's why I love, sometimes when I think about these things, bringing it here and having us all talk, because we all have a different angle, and definitely don't think anybody else out there has Chris's angle, but we'll take it anyway. And yeah, I don't want any hate mail, but please send it to Chris, and let him know that you want to sexually harass him, and go in that direction. You can go to Chris, or maybe even Dexter. Dexter may take some sexual harassment too. I don't know. And with that, we'll move on to news, and I'll make it quick so that Chris can do his review here. Because there's always remake news. They want to reboot Dreamhouse, and if you remember that is a Daniel Craig movie, slight horror, more probably a thriller. But nobody cares why. I don't understand why. Why do we need to do that? Just because. A movie that I much talked about, and many a time last year, if you listen to the podcast, was in my top 10 list for 2020. Fried Berry will be on Shudder. That's what's being reported, and I haven't heard any official, but that's what I understand. And I understand from the director that he had something in the works. So I believe this will be coming to Shudder on May 6th, is supposedly the announcement. So when that does, please see that movie. Interesting pairing here, Danny Trejo and Tobin Bell will be in a movie together called Wolf Mountain. So I'll look for more and more details of that, and expect that out soon. And another combination here, we're gonna be fair here and go the ladies route here. Toni Collette and Anna Kendrick are going to be starring together in a movie called Stowaway, and that'll be on Netflix next month, and that is a sci-fi feature, so that'll be on Netflix. American Horror Story announced their theme, and it's going to be double feature, One by Sea, One by Sand. Always interesting, always cryptic by them. We'll see what they do there, but it looks like we're going to get two different stories. For Chris, the name of the next Resident Evil movie is Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. So you have been welcomed to Raccoon City. I just want to throw out a reminder here that Creepshow will be coming out next week at the beginning of April. We'll have several episodes of the new season of that, and also look for Peninsula, which is the Train to Busan sequel. Will also be coming to Shudder at the beginning of the month, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of the other stuff coming to Shudder down the road. And some trailers that just recently come out that may be of interest to you guys. Make sure you check them out if you've missed them. Bloodthirsty, Them, Morgue, Jacob's Wife, Murberry Win, and The Banishing, and Hall. Just some trailers that have been recently released. Definitely be hearing a lot from those movies over the coming weeks. Some will be on Shudder, and some will have other releases. And my recommendation for this week is Making Monsters, a movie that'll be out digitally at the end of this week. Interesting story there. Wish they had a little bit more to it, but it's definitely well done, and definitely some creepy moments. As Muse referred to her Sinister Six earlier, there is a ghost that does appear, and he's pretty damn creepy in this movie. And I'll just reiterate my recommendation from last week is The Toll, which also will be out on this Friday. Excellent movie. Going to be posting my review of that in the next day or two. So much recommend that one. Just take an Uber drive down dark road here, and mistrust between the passenger and driver, and then some other crazy shit happening. And of course, they mentioned one of my favorite movies in the movie, So definitely good stuff. Really, really high on that one. So that is it for the exciting 666 rundown.
It was good. You went a little controversial there, and it's good to bring up those topics and kind of see where we're at, just to make sure that I don't step the line with Chris, because I know I sexual harass him online sometimes, and I don't want him to feel uncomfortable. But he's very good looking, and I can only dream that I can grow up to be just like him. I got a question for you guys. Do you guys like hot dogs? Do you guys like hot dogs? Yes or no?
They're all
Yes.
right.
Sorry. Chris says yes, and Omar says yes. All right. Do you like bologna?
Yes.
Omar says no. Chris says yes. But my question is, if you mashed a hot dog into like a pancake, isn't it a bologna pancake? Isn't it the same thing? It is, right? It's the same thing.
Yes.
So if you smashed a hot dog,
Yes.
it's a bologna pancake.
Yes,
Yes.
So, so you can't say
I don't even know where
that
we're
you don't
going
like.
with this.
Yeah, I gotta trick you guys. So bologna pancakes are just hot dogs. Oh,
That's true. Yeah, I don't know why. I like bologna, but fried bologna especially. That's
Baloney.
I think, yeah, I'm with Chris. You're full of baloney. What the hell kind of crap?
my bologna has a first name. All right. Anyway, speaking of bologna, let's get on with the creature feature of the week with Chris the Creature.
Hey, it's me. If we still have any viewers, I was about to say Gore, Quebec, because Gore, Quebec was a horror movie I reviewed about 6 years ago. Took place in Quebec. Well, today's movie is a lot better movie than Gore, Quebec. You can read my review on that. The Curse of Aurora, which takes place in Quebec. Is it Quebec? We're going to say Quebec, and just to annoy our Canuck listeners today. Now, we'll say Quebec. It's kind of an interesting setting because these are three Americans who are traveling up to Quebec to do a movie. And the first thing you're going to notice about the movie is the snow. Snow is symbolic. Snow is symbolic of death. All the way back from those old Robert Frost poems. I know Ken has most of those memorized. But the setting in the Great White North, and when I say Quebec, we're not talking Montreal. We're talking well outside the city, a small town. And you know those small Quebec towns. Same thing as those small English towns. They are teeming with pagans and Satanists. And people that might look normal, but in reality, they're worshiping Satan. It's just everybody knows that, except for three Americans. They are a very lovely young lady who might be with us in a few minutes. Lana Barron, who plays Lena. She's, I think, the star of this movie. Lex Wilson plays Aaron. And Jordan Kaplan plays Kevin. Now, as the movie begins, Aaron and Kevin are flying into Quebec from LA. And already there is Lana Barron, who has kinfolk who hail from Quebec and a house that used to belong to them, old small house in a neighborhood. And they all happy to see each other. And when we're able, this is a found footage film, by the way, so beware, you could go either way on that. And it's going to remind you a lot of the Blair Witch Project without copying it too badly, where we're calling it a ripoff of the Blair Witch Project. But the dynamic is similar. I don't know if you want to call these people amateur filmmakers. And I think that is a very important point of this story. They're not. They've been at it for a while, and you see it. You see the frustration in their faces. They're three friends that used to work together in LA, and you get the sense they know they're talented. They know they're good. They've never received a break in their life. They don't want to give up. This is their dream, but the handwriting's on the wall. They're never going to make it. Now, nobody's going to admit that out loud, because together they've fed off each other's dreams, fed off each other's hopes, fed off each other's energy, and that energy is dying. And we get an inkling later in the movie that Lena is doing one last effort to get the trio back together because she believes in them. And maybe even more so than that, she's not ready to give up on the dream of making a great movie. This is going to be big because there's a lot of stuff regarding the relationship of these three people that you can see and it's never said. We're going to get into that in a little bit in this review, but supposedly Lena has this great idea for a movie. Unfortunately, it sounds a lot like the Blair Witch Project, and Aaron and Kevin, they sort of smile and say, "Oh yeah, that's good." And Lena's trying to build them up. Lena's like, "Oh, this is great that you don't understand. This is scary. There's a girl that died. There's a ghost. Bad things happened." And you can tell the two guys are like, "Well, we're here. We'll just do it." And they all go back to Lena's place. And you might say this is a slow burn, and it really isn't if you look really, really closely. And if you remember that this is a movie heavily based on the relationship between these three, where it was, where it actually is, and are these characters now fooling themselves? Are they living a fantasy? Are they keeping hope alive where there's no hope? Well, unfortunately for them, Lena's absolutely right. There's a really good movie to be made here. And I don't think they really believed that the stories that they've heard, and it's an awful story of a girl, 100 years ago or sometime in the late, early 20th century, who is abused, she's tortured, she's kept in a room, she's starved, that her mom and dad do all sorts of bad things to her, and she finally dies horribly at the hands of her parents. Parents are arrested, they're sentenced, they're sent away, and I don't know if it's a technicality or something mysterious. They end up getting released just after a year or two, and virtually her crime goes unpunished. And the legend is her crime is unpunished. She's coming back. There've been sightings of her. And this is the basis of why Lena has brought her friends up to make this movie. And a lot of bad stuff is going to happen. A lot of sad stuff is going to happen. There's a lot of really creepy stuff that's going to happen. Ghostly apparitions, those scenes when they look at a photo and then they look closely and there's something in there that wasn't in there when they took it, that type of stuff. But it's done very, very well. They do it with the film and they do it with everything. But there's a lot of sexual tension here, and you got to look for it, but it's absolutely there between Lena and Aaron, and both of them are afraid to tell the other, "I'm madly in love with you. Why don't we go out? Why don't we be boyfriend and girlfriend?" And you're waiting for them to do that. And I think they both see themselves as failures, even though they won't admit that out loud. And I think, and I want to ask our guests about this in a little while, I think they both see themselves as failures. And if they ask the other, they'll be rejected because they're used to failing. And it's very, very sad. The dynamic becomes a sad one. And then they start bickering. And then they start actually doing stuff to film this movie, to do some research. And that's where it continues to go south. They go on a merry trek through town. Everybody in town is weird. And they're weird because they're Satanists or devil worshippers or pagan. You just know it. I mean, you see these people at Costco all the time. It's blatantly obvious. It's problem with this country. Satanists just running around all over the place and nobody calls them on that. But not to offend our Satanist listeners and viewers, but it's a sad commentary on this country. But on Canada, actually, this is a movie set in Canada. Now, everything they do in researching this movie and filming turns really, really creepy, really, really fast. They get stuck in the ditch. They need help. They just knock on the door. And guess who answers? A spiritualist who does seances and cards. They get a tarot reading, one of the creepiest tarot card readings you'll ever see. And you know how tarot card readers don't want to scare you away? They say, oh, the card of death, that's nothing. It also means opportunity. No, the death card never means opportunity. And to drive that point home, just watch this movie because they draw a few cards that you wouldn't believe. Now, to make matters worse, Kevin has got a bit of a kleptomaniac problem. And because of that, he's going to get the town mad at him. But he manages to steal a few things. He steals a artifact from Aurora's house where Aurora died. He steals a book, the Book of the Languages of the Dead. That's always a good thing to steal and bring with you. Not quite the Necromonicon, but it's up there. Steals that, brings it back to Lena's house. And so it does. Look, they think they've hit a stumbling point. So I say, let's do a seance. And that's going to go well. You've noticed in life and in movies, whenever people do seances, nobody ever says, never, gee, that was a good idea. I'm glad we did that. It kind of worked out well. Never happens. And so it's not going to happen here. And what makes matters worse is Quebec seems to be closing in around our three protagonists. There's something happening next door at 1 a.m. and it's not a Pampered Chef party. No, it's we know what it is right when we see it, and we also know it's going to play big in the end. And it looks like everybody in Quebec is sort of looking at them, getting closer. The ending is going to be startling, it's going to be vicious, it's going to be horrific, but it's not going to be a surprise if you pay close attention to who these three characters are, where they were, where they are now, and their sense of reality regarding their relationships with each other. It's The Curse of Aurora. I don't want to say too much about it because I don't want you to think this is a ripoff of the Blair Witch Project. It really isn't. And a plot description might make it sound that way, and that would be misleading. So The Curse of Aurora, it's an unsettling movie. You're going to love these characters. You're going to wish they were your friends, and you're going to be sad for them because you see what's really going on, and you see that they're actually afraid. So that is my review, and I can't wait to talk to our guests who are going to be here in a minute.
All right, everybody, sit tight. We are going to jump right back into it. We'll be here in a moment.